The first scream for help cracked through the mountain air like a gunshot. "Save us!" It wasn't broadcast over a clean radio channel or shouted with discipline, it was torn from a man's chest, raw with fear. 12 Navy SEALs were pinned halfway up a jagged Afghan ridge, their position blown, ammunition bleeding away with every second. Above them, the mountain didn't echo their plea. It swallowed it. Chief Petty Officer Ryan Hale tasted dust and blood as he pressed his cheek into the rocks. The sun was sinking, dragging long shadows across the cliffs, and shadows were where death lived up here. He had led men through hell before, but this time felt different. This time, the mountain itself seemed to be hunting them. Every route down was cut. Every path up was covered. Their overwatch had gone silent hours ago. One by one, radios had been smashed or drowned in static. And now, with dusk closing in, the enemy was moving closer. Somewhere above them, a rifle cracked again. One of Hale's men cried out, clutching his leg. Hale felt the familiar weight of responsibility press into his lungs. He could lose men today. He could lose all of them. And there was nothing he could do but keep them alive for one more minute. What Hale didn't know, what none of them knew, was that 2 ridges away, a lone figure lay motionless against stone so cold it burned. Her name was Staff Sergeant Mara Vance, though most people never bothered to remember it. She wasn't attached to Hale's unit. She wasn't supposed to be there at all. Her mission had been simple. Long-range reconnaissance and interdiction, solo insertion, 48 hours in and out. Observe. Eliminate only if necessary. Stay invisible. She had been invisible for 17 hours straight. Mara had learned early in her career that people underestimated silence, especially when it came from a woman. She had heard the jokes in training, the doubts disguised as concern. She had been told she was too small, too quiet, too out of place for mountains like these. So she learned to disappear. She learned patience until it felt like a second heartbeat. She learned how to wait. That waiting ended when she heard the broken transmission. "Save us." Mara's fingers tightened around her rifle. Through her scope, she saw them, 12 shapes clinging to the mountainside, boxed in by higher ground, their movement desperate but disciplined. SEALs. Good ones. The enemy was above them, dug in, confident. Confident men made mistakes. She checked her wind gauge. Crosswind, unpredictable, rolling down the slopes in uneven pulses. Distance. Nearly 1,000 meters. Angle. Brutal. Margin for error. None. She should have reported in. She should have waited for confirmation. She should have followed protocol. Instead, she whispered, "I've got you." The first shot was not loud. It never was, from this distance. But the effect was immediate. One of the enemy spotters collapsed mid-step, his rifle sliding from his hands. Confusion rippled through the hostile line. They shifted, searching, exposing themselves for half seconds at a time. Mara breathed out slowly and fired again. Below, Hale froze as a body toppled from above and slammed into the rocks. Another fell seconds later. The enemy fire stuttered, then faltered. For the first time in hours, there was space between bullets. "What the hell was that?" one of his men muttered. Hale didn't answer. He was scanning the ridge, heart pounding. Then another enemy shooter dropped, clean and sudden, as if yanked by an invisible string. Hope is dangerous in combat. It makes you careless. Hale fought it down, but he couldn't stop the spark in his chest. Someone was up there. Someone very good. Mara worked methodically. She wasn't saving heroes in her mind. She was solving a problem. Each shot was a calculation: wind, elevation, breath, consequence. Her shoulder ached. Her fingers were numb. Sweat cooled dangerously fast against her spine. But she did not rush. Rushing was how people died. The enemy tried to flank, moving along a narrow ledge to gain a better angle on the trapped SEALs. Mara saw it before they did. She adjusted, waited for the lead man to pause, and fired. The second hesitated. The third turned to run. None of them made it far. Down below, Hale realized what was happening. The pressure was lifting. The enemy was pulling back, unsure, suddenly afraid. He keyed his remaining radio. "Whoever you are," he said into the static, "don't stop." Mara almost smiled. Almost. Darkness crept in, turning the mountain into a maze of black edges and deeper shadows. Night favored the trained, but it also forgave mistakes less. Mara's ammo was running low. Her extraction window was gone. If discovered, she would be alone. She fired anyway. One of Hale's men was hit in the shoulder during the last exchange, the round tearing through muscle but missing bone. Hale dragged him into cover, shouting orders, reorganizing, holding the line. And then, just like that, the firing stopped. Silence pressed down. Minutes passed. No movement, no shots. The enemy had withdrawn, melted into the mountain they thought belonged to them. Hale slumped against the rock, shaking. 12 men still breathing. 12 men who shouldn't be. Overwatch, he said quietly into the radio, not knowing if anyone could hear. You saved our lives. There was no reply. Mara stayed in position long after the SEALs began their careful descent. She watched them move, counted them twice, then a third time, making sure none were left behind. Only then did she allow herself to exhale fully. Her extraction came hours later, cold and unceremonious. No speeches, no handshakes, no names exchanged. She filed her report, targets neutralized, friendly forces supported, mission complete. Weeks passed. At a forward base, Hale stood in formation as a visiting sniper unit was introduced. His attention wandered until he saw her, standing at ease, eyes forward, expression unreadable. Something about her posture struck him. Something familiar. After the formalities, he approached her. I don't know if it was you, he said carefully, but my team owes our lives to someone on that mountain. Mara met his gaze. For a moment, she said nothing. Then she nodded once. You did the hard part, she replied. You held. Hale felt his throat tighten. What's your name? Mara, she said. Just Mara. They didn't say anything else. They didn't need to. Stories like hers rarely made headlines. They lived in quiet acknowledgments, in 12 men who went home, in families who never knew how close they came to loss. Mara returned to the mountains again and again, carrying the same rifle, the same silence, the same resolve. And somewhere out there, on a cold ridge where fear once screamed into the void, the mountain remembered the day it underestimated a lone woman with steady hands and an unbreakable will. Because sometimes, salvation doesn't arrive with thunder or numbers or glory. Sometimes, it arrives quietly, one shot at a time.